Hi, today our lesson is network security, the last lesson of network chapter. You can go through the full network topic lessons when you go through the ACE network playlist. I've completed the full network chapter in 10 videos. I have added the link to all 10 video playlists in the description box. The importance of network security has become significant factor now in this modern era. Like as soon as your computer is connected to a network, you have to start thinking about security of your files, security of your information. And there are millions of network in various sizes and complexities connecting to different types of devices with varied software, hardware, and protocols. And these workstations, devices are used by various types of users who might or might not have the IT literacy or proper cyber awareness. So these networks are connected to internet, so at the end, there's a huge risk of getting cyber attacks. So that's why we need to know the importance of network security. So under this topic, we need to understand the impact of network security issues on individuals and also on the organizations. Network security is a vast area, so let's start with by first looking at the Edexcel IT specification to see what is the expected areas of network security that we need to know. This is the expected outline for network security according to the Edexcel specification. So based on this, we need to know the impact of network security issues on individual basis and organization wise, and also we need to learn how a network can be secured using both hardware and software. We will be learning on these seven techniques, right? Yeah. Techniques to secure a network. So we will go in detail in the coming slides. Network security is a set of software and hardware technologies and practices to protect the data and hardware of a network. And there are three main goals of achieving network security: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. The purpose of confidentiality or the function of confidentiality is to protect precious business data from unauthorized persons. It makes sure that the data is available only to the intended and authorized persons. Second goal is integrity. This goal means maintaining and ensuring the accuracy and consistency of data. It makes sure that the data is reliable and it's not changed by unauthorized persons. Third and last goal is availability. This is about make sure that the data, the network resources, the services are continuously available to the legitimate users. So, in order to secure, we need to know what are common network security issues we face. Malware issues. Malware includes viruses, spyware, ransomware, and other unwanted software that gets secretly installed onto your devices. Phishing is sending emails imitating reputable companies and get your personal information such as password, credit card details, SSN number, likewise. And denial of service and distributed denial of service attacks like multiple systems target and flood your system bandwidth or the resources. So because of that, the people who really need to, the intended users can't access the website. Imagine this is happening to an e-commerce website like Amazon. The system has a DOS attack and people can't use the system. I mean, the real people can't use the system for their selling and buying. And hacking is accessing unauthorized data, and farming is actually has become a huge issue now. uh, Farming is like directing the internet users to a bogus websites that mimics the appearance of the legitimate site, and people get deceived and they enter their personal information such as username, password, credit card numbers, account numbers, and etc. So the hackers get the uh, data of other people. So, in order to secure our devices when we are connecting through networks or internet, we have to take actions. There are seven mechanisms we are learning under Edexcel specification. We are learning on firewall security settings, anti-malware, user controls, authentication types, encryption techniques, and also implementing physical controls. Okay, let's go through each of these techniques. Firewall is the first line of defense for your network. The basic purpose of a firewall is to keep uninvited guests, unauthorized people from browsing your network. Basically, a firewall can be a hardware device or a software application, and this is usually positioned at the perimeter of the network. It sort of act as the gatekeeper for all incoming and outgoing network traffic. If you see in the diagram, a firewall is placed between the internet and your private network. If it's a hardware firewall, it could be a device maybe residing inside your router. And if it's a software firewall, it could be located inside a computer server. A firewall allows you to sort of establish certain rules to identify the traffic that should be allowed in or out of your private network. Like depending on the type of firewall that is implemented, you can restrict access to only certain IP addresses and domain names. You can block certain types of traffic uh, uh, as well. Like you can restrict employees accessing maybe Instagram or Facebook. So there are rules that you can implement inside a firewall. So how does a firewall work? There are four mechanisms used by firewalls to restrict unwanted traffic. You can use one or more of these techniques. The four mechanisms are packet filtering, circuit level gateway, proxy server, and application gateway. So let's see what each mechanism is. Packet filtering is a packet filter intercepts all traffic to and from the network and evaluate it against the rules that you are providing. Typically, the packet filter can access the when you're sending data, it can access the source IP address and also the source port, and also it can see where the data is going, the destination IP address and the destination port. It is these criteria that you can filter to allow or disallow traffic from certain IP addresses. The second mechanism is circuit level gateway. Circuit level gateway is a type of firewall that operates on layer 5 of the open system interconnection model. Hope you can remember the OSI model lesson that we did. The fifth layer is, hope you remember, it's a session layer, right? So it's the layer that is responsible for providing the mechanisms of initiating a communications session and then managing the session and then closing the session. Session is sort of a like it gives you the access and it ends the session, then you can't communicate. And then the proxy server. Proxy server is generally like the main purpose of a proxy server is to put in place to boost the performance of the network when the network is slow and when the bandwidth is getting high. We normally install proxy servers to boost the performance network, but in it can also act as a sort of a firewall as well, providing security. So proxy servers hide your internal addresses, so to the outside world, it see all the requests are coming coming from the proxy server. It can't see all the IP addresses and all the machines that is behind the proxy server. So a proxy server catches pages that have been requested. Maybe I will tell you an example to understand. Let's say there are user A, B, C, D likewise, and user A goes to yahoo.com. The proxy server sends the request when user request to yahoo.com, it goes through the proxy server, and proxy server sends a request to the yahoo.com and retrieve the web page. Then say another user B also connects to yahoo.com. Then the proxy server just sends the information. It already has, because it retrieved for user A, right? So it gives the same results to the user B. So it gives much faster and it consumes less bandwidth because it doesn't have to go and again to yahoo.com and fetch that information. You also can configure a proxy server to block access to certain websites and filter certain port traffic to protect your internal network. If there are unethical sites or illegal sites, you always the network administrator in your company can set up these as blocked list in the proxy server. Fourth and last firewall mechanism is application gateway. Application level gateways, also known as proxy firewalls, are type of network security solution that takes action on behalf of the apps and programs they are set to monitor in a network. Okay, out of the seven network protection methods we learned on firewall, and next is security settings. Under the settings, we need to ensure the security settings of our network settings, server settings, computer settings, security settings of any devices that we are connected to the network, and also the Wi-Fi settings are considered here. And in each of these, we need to go through the security settings and enable with security measures so that the intruders cannot access the devices and the network. Our next method is anti-malware. Uh, so, what are the common types of malware that bothers us? First of all, the word malware derives from combining the two words malicious software. You can see in the screen I have used in different colors. So, malware, the word derives from malicious software. So, there are different types of malware. Virus is virus infects the program files and our files in our computer systems, and it can destroy, it can make it unreadable, delete, those sort of actions. And the spyware is software that collects personal information through spying, and they can use that personal information to sabotage or to access your personal information and use that for illegal purposes. And then worm is a malware that can replicate itself across a network, and it can utilize the network resources so that it can fill up a hard disk drive, it can fill up a network, it can fill up your memory, so that you won't be able to access the resources. And the Trojan horse is a malware that looks and may even operate as a legitimate program, and you don't even notice that it's a malicious software. It can And the browser hijacker is software that modifies your web browser. Rootkit is the software that gains administrative rights for malicious intent, because the administrator rights are much higher than the normal users, so that they can uh, do any unwanted activities. And the malvertising is the use of legitimate online advertising to spread malicious software. So there are so many anti-malware software solutions developed in the world by various companies, namely like you may have used in your laptops or computers, Kaspersky, Norton, McAfee antivirus software, anti-malware software. And we need to make sure our devices has anti-malware software installed, and also it's up to date and not expired, because there are hackers and these malware people who create these viruses and all that. So we need to make sure that our anti malware software is also updated. Otherwise, we will get attacked. Our next method is having user controls, user access, user rights, and user profiles. User controls. These are like rules or settings that determine what a user can and cannot do on a computer or a network. And the user access refers to the permission to use certain resources or enter specific areas of a network. And the user rights are privileges given to users specifying what actions they are allowed to perform. And then user profiles. Think of profiles as personalized sets of rules and permissions assigned to different user groups based on their job role or the responsibilities. Let's say people who are working in the HR department, they might have HR department user role, and they might have use access rights based on the activities they do on the job. So, how these user controls, user access, user rights, and user profiles work to ensure network security through user authentication. So, like before accessing the network, users must prove their identity through their usernames and password or biometric scan or something like that. They need to provide their identity. And through authorization, once authenticated your password and all that, it authorized what sort of user profile you are belong to, and for that user role what sort of access control you have, and then based on those access on the authorization, and then what sort of user profile you are belong to, and what for that user profile what rights and what access rights you have. Based on that you can access the network. In networking, there's a principle called least privilege principle. That is, you are assigned with the least minimum, like the minimum level of access needed to adequately needed to do your job. So it reduces the like when you are given all the access rights, there's a high chance that there could be security issues. But if you are given only the access right that's adequately needed to do your job, then there's low risk of unauthorized access and any security issues. Right. So next we have authentication types. Authentication is the process of verifying the identity of a user. There are several types of authentication methods. So let's go through each of them. Password authentication. User provides a secret password to prove your identity, and then it's actually simple, and it's also the widely used method, but it has a weakness of it's vulnerable to password guessing, right? If you are using a weak password, people can easily guess, and people can get it and share it and use for uh, secure illegal users. And then we have biometric authentication. It uses unique physical or behavioral characteristics like fingerprints, facial recognition, retina for identity verification. The good side is it's difficult to forge, and it's convenient because you don't have to remember or take any devices to access. But it has the weakness of, like, if it's some way, if it's cloned or copied, it's not easily replaceable. Like if a password is stolen, you always can change password, but if your fingerprint is cloned or copied or some sort of thing has happened, you can't easily replaceable, right? And then we have token based authentication. Users carry a physical device called a token that generates a one time code, and you need to enter that code to get access. The strength of that is it adds an extra layer of security because you only have the token, but it has a weakness because it could be stolen, and also users has to consciously take care of the token. And then we have two-factor authentication and also multi-factor authentication. This is like having two or more forms of authentication. For an example, you enter the password, and also after that you get a SMS to your mobile phone with the one-time password or code, and then you enter both, and then only you are allowed to log in. So this enhances the security by adding an extra layer. So even if one factor is compromised, like if even if your password is guessed by a hacker, still he cannot get through to your online banking account because the hacker doesn't know the OTP or the one-time code password that is sent to your mobile phone. But it has the weakness, whereas like people who are old or people who are not literate enough, they might find this as a complex thing to do. And then we have certificate based authentication. It involves a digital certificate issued by a trusted authority. Uh, it has better security, uh, but at the as the weakness, it managing these certificates can be complex. And then we have the last one, smart card authentication. Users can insert a smart card into a card reader to authenticate. It also provides a physical element for authentication. So these are sort of the main authentication types that we need to know. Next, we have encryption techniques. Imagine you have a secret message that you want to send to a friend and you don't want anyone else to read it. What do you do? Like, you use encryption, right? If you look at the diagram, the girl in the left, she needs to send a message to the boy in the right side, and both of them don't want anyone else to see the message. Let's say the girl wants to send a message, meet me at the park at 3 p.m. So what the girl is saying, getting is, it has the plain message, which is meet me at the park, and then it has to be encrypted using a secret key. So once it's encrypted, it's called the ciphertext. In the diagram, I have mentioned all the labels, all the things. So the ciphertext is there, and nobody can read it, right? Because it's encrypted. And then the boy at the right, he can decrypt it using the secret key. So you use the key to turn your message into the ciphertext into plain text. So after converting it to plain text, the boy can read it in the plain English. So there are two types of encryption: symmetric encryption and asymmetric encryption. In the diagram, what you see is symmetric encryption because it has a common secret key. You and your friend use the same key. It's like having the same secret language to talk to each other. In symmetric encryption, it has two keys, public key and a private key. You have a special key to lock the message, which is the public key, and only your friend has the key to unlock it with the private key. So why encryption is so cool? Because it keeps our secret safe. Nobody else can understand your message without the special key, and it secures your file. If you have important files on your computer, encryption can make sure only you can open them. And also, when you're accessing the internet, we are using http www dot something, right? So when you are using the encryption version, the more secure version, http secure is the https. When you're accessing through https, it uses encryption and it gives more security. So next and last network protection mechanism is having physical controls, which is what we usually do at all times, right? So securing a network using physical controls involves implementing measures to protect the physical components of a network. Uh, some physical controls to enhance the security of a computer network are like access controls. You can control the access by having ensure that your server rooms, network closets, and those critical areas are physically secure with locked doors, or limit the access. You can use fingerprint scanners so that only the intended persons can access the area. And we can have surveillance and monitoring. We can have security cameras and motion sensors so that intruders or unauthorized people can't access. And also, when there are motion sensors, we can get alerting facility if there are any issues happening. And then we also can do environmental controls, because the temperature and humidity monitoring is important for servers. When the servers are heating up, sorry, right, okay. So the servers can heat up and start not working, so we can do the environment control as well. And then we have cable management, secure cabling, because it ensures that network cables are neatly organized and secure to prevent tampering or unauthorized access. We can label the cables to facilitate easy identification. And then we need to do the equipment protection. We can have racks, enclosures, to store servers and networking equipment like we can use cabinets with lockable enclosures to put our switches, network routers, and other critical hardware. And on top of all these, we need to train our employees on security awareness because physical security is really important and what their role on maintaining it. So we have discussed all seven network protection mechanisms. And let's say there's a question in the paper that you are joined with the IT company as maybe you are joined with the company and you are working as the IT admin, and how you are going to protect the uh, uh, network. So you can say you can propose these things that is mentioned in the slide with your the things that you have learned so far. You can say you can back up the day do backing up the data, and so that if something happens you always can restore it. And you can say the importance of training the people, and you can uh, say the authentication and authorization things, and the having strong password, and investing on cybersecurity awareness training, installing network firewalls, proxy servers, and also having anti-malware solutions. So you can propose these. And this is a past paper question that I got from 2021 October. It asks state where the hardware firewall is located, state where the software firewall is located. Hope you can remember we discussed this in the lesson. And then here are a few more practice questions with answers, like how can a regular software updates and patch management contribute to network security? I'm not going to read the answer here because it's better you read the answer. You think about the question. Sorry, you read the question and then you think about the answer, and then go through the answer that I mentioned below. And this is another question. Describe the concept of least privilege in the context of networking access control. That also we discussed. And then why is multi-factor authentication considered more secure than single-factor authentication? This is also we discussed, so you know the answers. Okay, so now we know what sort of questions you get in the exam as well, and we have completed the network security lesson as well. That concludes the entire network chapter. So entire network chapter that I have gone through in 10 video lessons, and this is the last one. So study well and answer your questions, and let's meet in the brand new chapter, and that is chapter 3 from the next video. So good luck guys.